research going back, as Dr. Conway mentioned, back to 1966, almost 50 years, has found that the biggest predictor of how well a student does is the socioeconomic status of the family that she comes from. The family is still the biggest, still has the biggest impact on academic achievement. The second biggest predictor, which people thought going in would probably be, how much money you spend per pupil or teacher training, these types of things. It turns out the second biggest impact is based on the socioeconomic status of the peers in your school. And that's important because of the three reasons that I cited before, that in high poverty schools, it's hard to get a strong core of parents who are involved, the positive peer environments, and the strong teachers. Since 1966, there have been lots of studies, international studies, studies involving millions of students throughout the United States, which have found that it's a clear advantage to be in a school where there's a strong core of middle-class families. Next, please. So, in the press, you oftentimes hear, sorry, I don't mean to single your profession out here, but you often find stories written about high-poverty schools that beat the odds, that succeed. Some of you have probably heard of the KIPP charter schools, or some of the schools that are economically segregated and yet manage to perform well. And they get an enormous amount of attention from the media. But statistically, they're extremely rare. So low poverty schools, those that are less than 50% low income, are about 22 times as likely to be high performing as high poverty schools. So those are not very good odds for the high poverty schools. Next, please, next. Now, part of the reason that high poverty schools are less likely to be successful is that first factor I mentioned from Coleman, that the socioeconomic status of the family is the biggest predictor of achievement. But this figure tries to separate out those two factors. So this top line are the test scores in math on the National Assessment of Educational Progress, which is kind of the gold standard of testing. This is the middle class kids, the ones who are not eligible for free and reduced price lunch. And the bottom line is the low income students, those who are eligible for free and reduced price lunch. And you can see there's a gap between the two sets. But what's intriguing is as you go from low poverty schools over to high poverty schools, there's a separate impact of the school. And what's significant to note is that low-income kids who get a chance to go to more affluent schools are about 20 points ahead, which is about 2 years of learning. So in the fourth grade, that's very significant. A significant difference in the achievement levels. And interestingly, the low-income kids who are in more affluent schools actually are scoring better than the middle-class kids who are stuck in high-poverty schools. So when you separate out the school and the student income, we can see that there's still a big impact from the school. Next, please.